Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a story about an impossible choice. One made in the absolute heart of battle, with life and death on the line. A choice that would echo through history.
Okay, let's start with a question. I want you to put yourself right in the cockpit. It's November 2nd, 1943. You've done it. You've hit your target against unbelievable odds. Your bomber is shot to absolute pieces, but you can see it. A clear path home. Safety. Do you take it? Well, Major Raymond Wilkins was faced with that exact choice. A clear shot home, and he didn't take it. This is the story of why he made the incredible decision to turn his shattered plane around and fly right back into the inferno.
So, to really understand a choice like that, we have to understand the man who made it.
He was just 26 years old, which sounds young, right? But in the brutal air war over the Pacific, being 26 made him an old man, a seasoned veteran.
This was going to be his 87th combat mission. Now, let me put that in perspective for you. Most bomber crews were considered incredibly lucky to survive 20 missions. He had already stared death in the face and won 86 times. And here's the part that really gets you. He was the last one, the only surviving pilot from his original squadron that had arrived in the Pacific way back in February 1942. Every single one of his comrades was gone.
In a letter he wrote home just days before this mission, he pretty much acknowledged the impossible math he was up against. He knew his luck couldn't hold out forever. But his drive, his sense of duty to finish the job, was just stronger than any fear he had.
So, what was this mission? What was this job he had to finish? Well, the target was a place whose name alone was enough to strike fear into the heart of any Allied airman.
He was flying straight into the lion's den, Rabaul. This wasn't just some base, it was a natural fortress, surrounded by volcanoes and just bristling with guns. Attacking it was widely considered a suicide run. And just look at these odds. Seriously, 8 B-25 bombers, that's it, against a hornet's nest of almost 400 fighter planes and hundreds of anti-aircraft guns. Their objective was critical, though. They had to destroy the Japanese warships that were threatening the U.S. Marine landings at Bougainville. The mission briefing was, let's just say, blunt. The officers flat out told the crews that not all of them were coming home.
So, with those impossible odds staring them down, they took off. Let's break down how this incredible mission unfolded, minute by minute. The attack was just a blur of violent, focused action. Wilkins leads his squadron in at treetop level, and he sinks a destroyer with a perfect skip bombing run. That's where you literally bounce a bomb off the water into the side of a ship. Mission accomplished. But at the same time, his B-25 is just shredded by enemy fire. Hydraulics are gone, the tail is shot to pieces, he's barely keeping it in the air. And that's when he sees it, a heavy cruiser turning its guns on his squadron, who are trying to escape. Wilkins has no bombs left, but he makes his choice. He turns his crippled plane around and flies directly at that warship, basically making himself the single biggest target in the entire sky. Wilkins's plane went down in the water, but his story doesn't end there. Not even close. You could say this is where his legacy truly begins. Even in his final moments, with the bomber sinking fast, his first thought was for his crew. He physically pushed his injured co-pilot out of the escape hatch ahead of himself. Wilkins made it out of the wreck too, but his wounds were just too severe. He was lost to the sea. His body was never recovered. Because he turned back, because he drew all the fire from that cruiser onto himself, 5 of the remaining B-25 bombers were able to escape the harbor's defenses. And 5 bombers? Well, that's 25 men, 25 crewmen who got to go home to their families, all because of what Raymond Wilkins did in those last few selfless minutes. Now, the cost of this raid was horrific. 45 American airmen killed or missing. It was the single bloodiest day for the 5th Air Force in the entire campaign. But the result? It was a decisive, strategic victory. The Japanese fleet at Rabaul was neutralized, which ensured the Marine invasion of Bougainville could succeed. A tactical massacre had purchased a strategic masterpiece. For his incredible bravery, Wilkins was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. But his legacy goes so much deeper. The daring, low-level attack techniques he helped perfect became standard procedure. The very modifications on his plane became the template for future bombers. So his innovations, and his sacrifice, saved countless more lives throughout the rest of the war. When you think about it, Major Wilkins never knew if his squadron got home safely. He never knew he'd receive any medal. He just saw his men were in danger, and he made a choice to protect them, no matter the cost to himself. And that, right there, that really gets to the heart of what a hero is. It's not about the glory, it's about the choice you make when everything is on the line.